and welcome to What is Up? What is up? Welcome to the Headed Home podcast. We're going to have a fun one
Happy
today.
To be here. Thank you for having me. I've been wanting to get on for a while. I've been watching him, and I really appreciate you having me as a part of it.
We are very excited.
Super excited.
Yes, we've got Lori Abbey here, and I'm going to give you a formal introduction here in just a second. But as you know, we're your hosts, Andrew and Jen Gallegos, and excited for this episode. I think we're going to learn a lot. Before we get started, I do got to say, if I'm a little slow, we were in Nashville for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, got back Monday. Well, we got back about 48 hours ago, and I think I ate my body weight in Nashville hot chicken. So still kind of getting through that food coma. So
Dude,
if I'm a little slow.
That like
Ooh,
on Saturday morning.
So much fun.
I swear to God, I had chicken fingers or boneless wings and queso for breakfast. Like actually makes me physically ill to think about how much food we ate this weekend.
Yeah, but guys, the good news is, and I know you know this, that when you're on vacation, those calories literally don't count. So
it's like non-existent.
They don't count.
Nope.
But it was weird because usually we'll travel, like if we go on a weekend or something, we'll travel back on like Sunday night or like Monday night, you know, so you have like a transition into like your next day. We got back into town at like 8:30 in the morning and then like decided to work a full day. And so we were like walking around the whole day, like confused about like our identities and like who we were.
Am I? Yeah. Like,
That's something that I experienced many days. I thought that was just age, but
no.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it was an identity shift for sure. Nashville's an awesome place, by the way. What was your favorite part?
Oh man. It was definitely, I would say like the music for me was super cool.
Were you there?
So we were there for the weekend, pretty much. We were there for a weekend. Yeah.
Friday.
Saw a Bronco game out there. Yeah. Which wasn't great, but the food, the music was awesome. And the vibe, like I would say just the energy of the people there was just like positive. Maybe that was the music. I don't know. It makes people happy, but super cool vibes.
Maybe the fact that their football team is doing
maybe that's it.
Yes.
Maybe
seriously.
Maybe that was it.
The last time we went though, it was like 2015. We went for one of our close friends' wedding, and we had just had our first kid, and she was like 6 or 7 months old, and we're like, oh, we'll take her to Nashville. So we had like an entirely different experience that time. So this was like fun to be able to like, actually enjoy Nashville and, not cart a newborn baby around or a 6-month-old around the bars.
It does change things. I have a 25-year-old daughter, and now I travel with her again. I started traveling with her when she was 5 weeks old. I started taking her places. The experience in the middle was a little tougher. 25 is great. 5 weeks is great. That 1, 2, 3 where they can walk, they don't want to sit still. It gets tough, and it gets tough. I mean, you do it because once you get there, it's fun, but it is a very different experience. I've never, of all the gazillions of places I traveled, and I used to be a national sales director and VP of sales and marketing for that country, and I've never been to Nashville ever.
Interesting.
You got to go.
You got to go.
I highly recommend it.
I feel like you would like it
today. Yeah. Well,
really?
With the big hair and all, I think I fit in well.
You fit right in. All right. So I am going to go ahead and introduce our guest today because we are really excited to talk to her. Our guest today is Lori Abbey. She is the CEO of Mile High Modern Real Estate in Denver. She has over 20 years of sales experience, over 10 years of full-time real estate experience. She is a multi-year 5-star real estate agent award recipient, a multi-year DMAR Diamond Award recipient, a double black diamond 5280 top real estate producer. She has a huge presence on a variety of different social media platforms. You may have also seen her as being featured on Good Morning America, HGTV, and Nightline. Lori, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. That girl sounds way more impressive than I am. Wow.
Well, I don't know if you remember this. We actually worked together on a transaction probably 8 or 9 years ago.
When I was brand new, I was probably a year or two in.
I think,
and to be fair, if you don't remember him, you had hair back then. And by hair, I mean like you were attempting to.
I was holding on to a few strands at the top.
Yeah. Well, I know your name. I mean, I've known your name for a long time. And at the very beginning, I was so, you're just scared because I had come from being a bigwig in a different industry. And then I'm a newbie in this industry. And then you have people's financial livelihoods at stake. So it was very scary the first couple of years in real estate, wanting to do a good job for people. So I am sorry that I don't remember you and your fledgling hair.
No,
I knew your name. I always
right.
on the name, so it must have been in my mind somewhere.
Well, it was a long time ago, and I think we connected on. It went well. Yeah, it went super smooth. And I met you at the closing table. But yeah, I know. I think we had connected shortly after that on social media. So it's been kind of cool because I've been able to kind of watch you, grow throughout your career. And one thing that I notice about you is that you're constantly seem to be pushing the boundaries of, what you're capable of in business and producing and building a team and putting out content on social media. So let's start there. Like, where does that drive come from?
That's my dad was just talking to me about this the other day because he said I was having this issue with some numbers and whether I was number one on something and number two. And it's like 3 or 4 people are like, who cares? What difference does it make? And my dad's like, she cares. She's been like this since she was 4 years old. So she does care. And so I was like, really? Since I was 4? So they started telling me some stories. So it's something I've always had. So you must be born with something like that. But then I think also, so I think it's probably twofold. So I think I was born with a little bit of that sort of competitive, always wanting to be better side. When I was 3 years old, I actually ran away from home because I didn't run away. I wanted to go to a friend's house and my parents wouldn't take me. So I literally walked down the highway and somebody picked me up. The manager of the trailer park that I lived in picked me up off the side of the highway and brought me back home. So I just have always been very independent and always wanting to do whatever I wanted to do. But like when I was 4 years old, my mom was telling me the other day, we would go to the grocery store and other kids are picking out whatever coloring books and stuff. And I wanted to get these workbooks so that I could try to get to the 6th grade level in reading or spelling or whatever. So I've always been a little bit crazy like that since I was young. And then I also think growing up in the trailer park environment, you see like TV shows, you see this, you see that, and you're like, hey, these people have this lifestyle. How are they different than I am? How did they get that lifestyle? How come there's this lifestyle and that lifestyle, and how do you get from this one to that one? What does that look like? And how are they different? Are they smarter? Are they better? Do they just work harder? How do you do it? So I just have always had this fascination with getting to the next level, whatever that next level is, and figuring out who's above me in anything, whatever it is. And then what are they doing better and differently than I am doing? Because I want to do that too. I want to be better. So every day I have that drive to be better. And I'm not 100% sure where it came from, but it's been a thing.
I think that's a really interesting point. It's one thing Andrew and I talk a lot about with our kids, or about our kids, because I would say like we both grew up and really, had like great families. But we were not brought into the world with like, into a really wealthy family. And we were kind of like on our own, when we were adults and had to kind of make it. And it's interesting now being a parent, and I'm sure you probably have had similar thoughts about this, but I feel like so many of my lessons have come from having to figure stuff out. Like you said, figuring out who knows this, and how can I learn what they know so that I can do what they do. Right. And so it's interesting, having, kids and being how can we teach them those lessons, even though they're brought up in a different situation than we were brought up in. And that's something I'm always trying to be thoughtful about and struggle with, because you really do. I think there's just so many lessons in that when you have to self-make, right?
There are lessons in the struggle. There really are. And I agree with you. I'm sure we're in that similar situation where you have more, and then you want your children to have that beautiful life that you've worked so hard to be able to give them. And then you have all these same conversations with yourself and with your spouse. And that is, geez, if I take away the struggle, then what gives them that kind of excitement and incentive to get to that next level? And so, yes, it is a struggle. And I think I think that same struggle has been around for probably a gazillion years. Like I was reading something the other day. There is a book out right now that kind of addresses this. And it talks about how generations kind of go back and forth, where you have the one that's more poor, and then they struggle and they make it. And then the next one sort of has a little bit more, and they don't have that same whatever. It just kind of goes back and forth. But I do think, and you guys I know are figuring this balance out that I'm working on too, you can still instill those same values where you always want to be a better person, and how do you get to that next level, and how do you, and one of our favorite sayings has always been a couple things. We have many, but two of the ones that kind of apply to this are, to those who much has been given, much is expected. And then with great power comes great responsibility. So if you have these things, you better do something with them. If you have this ability to be a little bit more fortunate and not have to struggle all day, every day, you better take that, and you better be rescuing dogs, being good to the people around you, getting to the next level in your career, taking that education and doing something with it, helping the environment, et cetera. So they might be struggling in a different way. But I think if you create that mindset of, hey, I have all of this, I have a responsibility to use the things that I have to make the world better, they learn. It's different. It's not the same. Not the same struggle. I don't think a lot of people are as tough as I am, or probably as you guys are, from having grown up like that. So I think I have a toughness. Like I wouldn't want to mess with me if I met me in a dark alley and pissed me off, kind of thing. But I think that toughness comes from that. But then there's a different kind of strength. You can have toughness, or you can have sort of a mental strength that comes from just wanting to do good.
Yeah. Well, and I think a resiliency too, and I think that's something that you can kind of carry over from just a tougher upbringing, and you can carry that into business, and your perspective on what is hard is different, because you maybe dealt with really hard things in your life. Whereas, if you've got a hard transaction going on or a hard conversation to have, it's not that bad. But I love the idea of, kind of flipping that mindset, changing the perspective within our kids to say, hey, this does come with responsibility, and here's some values that we can kind of focus on to, make them successful in a challenging world as well. So I like that.
Yeah. And to take what we've given them and what we've built, and to do something nice with it, to do something good, and not just to squander the opportunity that they have been blessed with, I guess.
Well, and it's absolutely. Well, it's kind of a mindset too, in a sales industry, which a lot of our listeners are in. We all kind of face that situation where we set a goal, we reach the goal, and then it's like, now what? And the same things that were pushing us to reach that goal are now maybe not pushing us anymore. So we have to be philosophical. We have to be strategic on creating that why, and the why is always there. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit to find your new why, but I think that's an interesting thought too.
No, you really do. Like, even there have been a couple months this year where, man, these last couple of years have been hard. They've been, again, wonderful, a blessing. Like, we've all been very financially blessed, I think, over the last couple of years, because the industry's been so fast moving, and we've all been just bombarded with clients and business, and that's great. And then, sometimes you complain you're too busy. And then you also have to remember, wow, this is something that's going to last for a short period of time. So I need to take advantage of it. So then after all that, after I had a great year, after all that, sort of this year, I've been kind of like really struggling. Like, how does this matter in life? And what am I doing? And anyone can sell this house to this person. And what do they even care if it's me or somebody else? Like, what's the point of me doing this kind of thing? And, and so I did go through that a decent amount this year. And it's good, because you get to that point. Okay, I made this amount of money. I did this. I got to this level, sold this many houses, did all these things, won these awards. Okay, now what happens? And so you're right. You do have to come up with, you don't come up with a new why. You go back to, so what I feel like I did was remember the passion that I had at the beginning and go back to the basics, go back to doing things like when you first met me. You're excited to learn everything. You want to know everything about, just like when I was 4 years old and I wanted to get to the 6th grade level and I wanted to do this. I had to go back and shift my mindset to getting a new curiosity about it. And hey, how do I learn now that the market's shifting? I want to learn everything about all these loan products. I want to make sure this is a good time for my clients. Is there a better place for someone to buy than this part of town? And once I got back to the passion and the basics and knowing everything and remembering that I'm doing it so that all of our clients can build wealth. I mean, this is 90% of millionaires come from home equity and from real estate, I guess, not home equity as much as real estate. And so remembering that I can be a part of someone having $600,000 in 10 years that they can put down on their dream home, pay off their bills or whatever else. And so really thinking, how can I do this the best I can for this client, which, I think I've always had that mindset, but going backwards, refreshing it and coming back out, it feels different again. Like now I'm like, okay, this is a different market. I want to know everything and I want to make sure I'm doing right by everybody and I'm at the top of my game. But for a couple months, I was like,
yeah. Well, and you probably come out of it a better professional, and you have more expertise to share. I remember kind of going through that same thing this year. And I would say like the biggest obstacle for me talking to clients has been fear, and there's just and then we have to look at ourselves and like, some of this fear is warranted, and how do we not necessarily like talk people out of fear, but make sure that we're giving education to make sure that fear is warranted, and so go.
Yep.
Yeah. So going back and educating yourself, so that you can educate your clients, I think is a good thing. But yeah, that's twofold.
I also think that one of the things like I've noticed, like just in myself, but I've read a lot about this too, is like when you reach like a certain goal, there's almost like a letdown, like the feeling that you get from like working hard at, a goal and like learning and like trying to figure it all out, right? When you're like holding on for dear life because you're trying to figure this thing out, the joy that comes in that moment is different than the joy that comes when you like reach the goal or you get an award. And I think when you start, like, whether it's in your career, your life or whatever, and you're successful or you're working towards success, you think that you're going to reach some sort of like happiness by getting that award. And really the happiness comes from, like we have been talking about, like that struggle and figuring it out and learning. And so I think that's been like a learning for us, is that it's not like the award that's going to like make you happy.
Yes. Isn't there some saying, I know there is, about enjoying the journey?
Yes,
because
totally.
It is that figuring out. It's the struggling. It's the going from this to this to this. And then that pride that comes from, okay, I did just learn this and I made it to this level and I helped my client do this wonderful thing that's really benefited their life. And this is so exciting. And you keep doing this and then you reach that pinnacle that you always thought, okay, that's where I finally made it. And then you get there and you go, well, this isn't as fun as all of those things where I helped this person and I helped that person. And I did that. Then you get there and you're like, okay, here's my trophy. Okay, but now what? What can I do?
Now what?
So I would agree with you. It is that journey. What's that quote? Do you guys know? You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, marry the process, divorce the result. I think it's right.
Like,
no,
it's the rate and the house.
Marry the rate, divorce the rent, or marry the house, divorce the rate. But no, marry the process, divorce the result. Is what I was thinking from that James Clear. But
that's not the quote I'm thinking of. But you did bring something else up that I do think is really important. When I first started dating my daughter's father, my baby daddy, I call him. He's still a very good friend and one of my top clients. So when I first started dating him, we would read these books on Gandhi and Buddha and all this stuff. And Gandhi, I probably am the only person in the world. No, this was Buddhism, but we had fights about both Gandhi and Buddhism, and that's probably why we're not together, because we could even fight about those types of things. And again, he's a great friend, so if he's watching this, he'll agree with all of these things. But in Buddhism, one of the things is have no expectations, right? And I would fight him on that all the time. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I need to tell you what I expect from you. I need to this and that. That's how we get to that next place, is we expect certain things in life, blah, blah, blah. And as someone who grew up in small town Iowa, I was looking at it differently. Now that I've gotten older, because I really did fight him on it. And I'm like, this doesn't even make any sense. Now that I've gotten older, now I completely understand it, because it's what you just said, which is divorce the result. You want to go in this direction, but then you're open to, so you make a plan, but then you're open to how to getting there. As long as you're heading in that direction, you're being the best you can be on that path. It may look different than you think. So if you let go of the expectation of what it's going to be like and just enjoy the moment that you're in, life will feel very different. If I say, hey, I'm going to marry someone at age 30 and they're going to have blonde hair and we're going to have 4 kids.
Yeah.
And so then all I do is go out there and look for that blonde haired guy and someone who wants to have 4 kids. Well, we're going to have a big problem, because I'm going to overlook a lot of things in trying to get that specific result. I'm going to probably overlook a lot of red flags. I'm going to overlook guys that might have been better guys for me. But I set this expectation and then let go of some. I missed all of the journey there because I let that go. I'm not sure I'm saying it in a way that
no,
makes
you
sense.
are. Yeah, no, you totally are. That's funny. We were just having that conversation the other day about letting go of expectation. And I had I'm like still way earlier in the process. Like, no, you have to have expectations. Like how that's like that's the bar. Literally, probably in Nashville. I think
it was like 3 days ago.
We were talking about because I had heard somebody else say that. I can't remember the quote now, but that the expectation is like the biggest driver of like disappointment, you know? Yes. And I was just like, man, that's weird. I mean, we have to have expectations, right? I mean, what about expectations for ourselves, you know? But yeah,
it's weird because I am 100% on both sides of that. I want to set expectations. Like I have said to my daughter from day one, when she was a little kid, I was like, look, you teach people how to treat you. You set the expectation. This is how I expect to be treated. This is that. So on one hand, I'm telling her to expect this kind of behavior, teach people how to treat you, do this and do that. And then the other hand, I'm saying, let go of expectations, be a free spirit, enjoy each moment, la, la, la. So it's almost like there's a subtlety in that word.
Yeah.
That we're missing. You're thinking expectations of one thing and she's saying expectations is something different. So,
maybe there's some caveats.
I think it's like both. I think it's both.
Maybe you can have expectations for yourself, but you can't put those same expectations on others.
But then if you have them for yourself and you don't reach them, but you have this beautiful life, but because you expected it to look like this and it doesn't, then you're also missing that. So that's the part I guess I'm still struggling with it 22 years later. Is I know there's something to it. I know there's something to enjoying the journey, living in the moment, really being present for all of that and enjoying wherever you are at a given moment. And then I'm also a firm believer in having high expectations for yourself, letting other people know what you expect from them. So I guess part of the dichotomy of life.
Maybe we'll figure out the answer to all that one of these days.
And I'm not a big pot smoker or anything, but it kind of feels like we should go smoke a joint. Discussion, isn't it? Like this is
ponder the questions of life.
Exactly. I think we need to solve the world's problems.
Love it.
That's what our podcast brings out of people. You know, the deep philosophical ideas tied into real estate somehow.
Okay, so Lori, I want to take a step back and get some background on, you know, I know that you're a top producing agent, but you also run a team. So maybe give us like a rundown of what your business currently looks like.
That's interesting, because that is something that has drastically changed over just the last 2 weeks. So part of leaving Compass, I was very intentional about the fact that I only wanted to surround myself with people I was really, really close to. Basically, my daughter and her close friends, and my daughters that are close by right now. So I didn't want any longer to have that. I didn't want to be responsible for others. So the team was kind of an accidental thing in a nice way. Like, I really want to be able to mentor people, or even just provide an opportunity. So some people at the time, Compass was very strict about how many dollars you have to have done before you can come to Compass. So I brought a lot of young up and comers over onto my team who were new in the business. And I just wanted them to have the opportunity to be at a good company, have the tools around them. And then we'd have meetings on occasion, and listen and learn, and call me if you need some negotiating help or something like that. So I've never been a great, and by no means a teacher or trainer. I just want to be able to provide people an opportunity. I'm not the most patient. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to sit down and teach you X, Y, Z. You can come to lunch with me and we'll talk about how we solve this problem. We can listen in on phone calls and that kind of stuff. So the team was sort of accidental. Never really have made much money off it. Never really did much other than just have a nice group of people around. So over these last couple of weeks, as I was making the decision to come to Mile High Modern and focus a little bit more on the luxury side of business, I decided that I wasn't, it's not that I'm not cut out for it, because I do enjoy it, but I decided I've got to retire in 10 years. I have some family members and friends that are really close to me that need a little bit more time and attention. I have to put a certain amount in the bank and make a certain amount of money. I've got to focus on the exit strategy now over the next 10 years. And so I decided to basically not let the team go. They stayed, and they're still a lot of them working as a team, but I just brought over my really close circle of people that have been in my life for years. So
that's awesome.
So I do have a team. I have a team. We're still the Abbey collection, but there's 8 of us compared to, I think we were up to 23 people at one point.
I think that, I mean, I think that's amazing. And I think what's really cool about that is it sounds like you've been like really thinking through a lot of stuff this year. And what's really cool about that is when you start to kind of like line your life up in line with your values and like what you need to focus on, like it feels really good. So as difficult as that decision probably was for you and those conversations for people that you love and care about, it probably feels like this is like the right thing. And this is what I'm doing, because this is what, I need to do.
That's so weird that you say that, because I never went into the office at Compass. In fact, like 3 times over the last 3 years, and this has nothing to do with Compass. It just has to do with the fact that I wasn't aligned exactly with what I wanted. I was just at that time surviving and making it through the day. You know how these last few years have been. And so the team just grew, and I was growing, and everything was growing, and nothing was intentional. And so never went into the office, just did not do it. A couple times I'd stop in to get something and literally didn't even know where my office was, for real. People are like, you're there. When I have my name on it and everything. So I've been here now. Tuesday, we switched over, and I think this is my 4th or 5th day in the office. And we were talking about it yesterday that, this just feels so right. And we feel now excited again, kind of what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Put that intention out there, realigned, as you're saying, with some of the things that are more important, got back to the basics, want to get excited about things again. And it feels so different. So I'm curious to see how this is going to result in terms of, is it bigger numbers, or maybe it's smaller numbers, but with better people, not better. All my clients are great, but people that are more aligned with my values, the client list that I've designed. I don't 100% know exactly what the next phase is going to look like, but like you said, it's starting to feel more aligned and starting to feel fresh again and bringing back some passion. And I think when you're fresh, when you're aligned, when you're passionate, good things happen.
True.
And again, this goes back to the expectation. I don't 1,000% have an expectation about yet what it's going to look like. I may do half the business, but at a higher dollar volume and only accept clients that fit in with my values and that make my life wonderful. I may start getting rid of people that are bringing stress. And I mean, obviously it's a stressful process, but I might be more selective. I don't 1,000% know where it's going, but I know it's going in a really good direction because that's what I'm going for. And I'm going back to what's important to me and feels good to me. And only obviously as feeling like I'm a good person, if it feels good to me and it aligns with my highest and best self, it's going to be good for the people around me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I totally agree. One thing I want to ask, I'm really interested in this because I'm just fascinated about people's like decisions to kind of change careers. I came from education, but how did you get into real estate? It sounds like you were doing sales previously, but how did that transition happen and why?
It's not as super cool as you think. I was a single mom. I didn't marry my daughter's father or anything like that. And so he was in medical school across the country. I was raising her. They would spend time together and that, but I was with her 100% of the time. When she was younger and not involved in as many things, I mean, she started traveling with me. And if you watch her Instagram, she is a traveling freak. She travels the world. Like it's her favorite.
I love that.
That's awesome.
And so she started traveling with me to my golf accounts. I was in the golf industry. She started traveling with me when she was 5 weeks old. I went down to visit Golfsmith in Austin, and I sat there and I fed her with a bottle while I was dealing with the buyer and the VP of sales down there. And we were putting order together for their catalogs and for the stores. So she has always been kind of world travel-y like that with me and sat in on business meetings and consequently has turned out to be a very sharp girl because she's just been listening to all this for years. But so as she got older and older, there are plants coming in. They're now. You should see the mess. I showed you the mess at the beginning. You should see how much worse it's gotten now. But so as she got older, she got involved in more activities. She was a tennis player and a gymnast and was in plays and that kind of stuff. So it was harder to take her with me places, and I didn't want to leave her behind, and I didn't want to miss her activities. So for a transition point, I hired my mom to be her nanny, and my mom would come with us places, and they would do homework, and they would go see cool places while I was doing meetings, and so we were kind of a traveling family. And then again, as she got even a little bit older, I think I got a call from Denver Public Schools one time, wondering if there was something bad going on at the home because my daughter missed so much school. And I'm like, no, her dad lives somewhere else and I travel for a job. And, and they're like, well, she misses a lot of school. And I'm like, yeah, but she's a top student and she travels the world and she's getting a different kind of education. But the education system did not love that. And so getting a call from social services and the Denver public school system and that kind of thing sort of made me think that maybe I should rethink my strategy at least a little. I mean, I still value her traveling and having these experiences and coming to these meetings all over the country. But if she's in a play, she needs to go to play practice. If she's on a gymnastics team, she needs to be at gymnastics. So I thought, okay, what can I do where I can still make the kind of money that I want to make to provide the lifestyle that I want to provide, but be here in town. And so I started studying for my real estate license while I was working at a health club. So I quit and I did the PR and marketing for health clubs, Colorado athletic clubs at the time. Actually, I still are those. And so I did that and was working gradually towards my real estate license, meeting a great bunch of people, learning the town, doing cool stuff. And then as soon as I had 3 things under contract, I quit the athletic club and jumped full force into real estate.
And the rest is history. Well, I asked this question a lot. So like, how far, and that's awesome that you had those 3 under contract, and that's when you took that leap. But like, how far into real estate did you get before you realized that you could like make it in this industry, you know, long term as a successful career?
That's kind of interesting. I'll give you 2 again dichotomous answers because that's life, right?
Yeah.
So from the very beginning, so I started in real estate when the market was down, and I left a job with a nice base salary. I think it was a base salary of 80,000, insurance, everything else. And I left in 2009, 2010, when the market was down and everything was HUD homes and all that. Mm-hmm. And I left to go into real estate, and everybody, literally everybody, the owner of the health club, everybody called me in and they're like, you're insane. This is ridiculous. Why on earth? You're a single mom. How can you possibly do this and start in a full commission job, leave your insurance behind? Like, I don't even know what you're thinking. And I remember just thinking, oh, I'll be fine. I just need to do 1 transaction a month and I'll be fine, and jump and the net will appear and all of those things. So from the very beginning, I just assumed I would be successful. And so I just always knew right off the bat, I was like, okay, whenever I've decided to do something, I've done it well. And I've figured out, like we talked about with the struggle, I figured out how to do it. So I just knew that because I had to succeed, that I would figure it. Just never crossed my mind that I wouldn't. Now, the flip side of that is about 6 months in, doing HUD homes, showing 60 houses to even try to get 1 thing under contract, maybe making about $3 an hour. It felt like by the time I'd get my commission, that you paid half to this person, half to that person, HUD, discounted, all of these millions of things. And I remember crying, thinking, what was I thinking? This is terrible. How could I possibly do this? I suck. I can't do this. I'm going to starve to death. I'm a volunteer worker. This is horrible. And so there's the sad side of it. But then within a day or 2 of that, I did wake back up and go, no, if someone else can be successful doing this, if someone else can figure out HUD homes and foreclosures, if somebody can do this, why couldn't I? Why can't it be me? So I did have a couple days of sadness and life sucks and all that kind of stuff, but then woke up and said, nope, if she's doing it, she's doing it, she's doing it, I'm doing it. It's happening. And so then kind of what was funny was from that point forward, my very first year, I did actually make more money in the down economy than I was making in the health clubs. Not as much as I was making in the golf industry, but as much more than the health club. So it was a good move. I've never looked back from that. But the funny part was I always thought I was better, not better than I was in terms of knew more. I always wanted to learn, but I just always assumed I was going to be successful. So we're laughing about one of the VPs here at Mile High Modern. I met her a year in, and I was like, and she was assistant to Deborah Vallejo and all these builders and all this. And I was like, girl, you are fabulous. I want you to come work for me. And I look back at that and I'm thinking, and she is super, super smart, and she was fabulous. And she was working for all these people that have been doing this 10, 15, 20 years. And she's probably like, who is this girl? Like,
it's that confidence.
Yeah. So I always thought I was already successful and was going to be successful. So I do think that's part of the key to it.
Sure, absolutely.
And I were talking about that because she goes, it was funny because you were new and you were newer, but she goes, but you were like, I need an assistant. I need someone at your level. We've got to do this now. And so it's just a balance between confidence, but not being too overconfident, obviously, because, oh my God, people are crawling under tables so that they don't
We're going to get a completely new backdrop for you here shortly.
We'd see something like
it.
dropping
yeah,
down
just like
from
dropping
the
the
ceiling.
back. Oh, that's awesome.
So I think that confidence helped, but coming from a different industry where I had been successful. And so I just knew I would transfer some of those skills over, and then never letting anybody tell me that I could not do it, which literally everybody tried. And I never once thought that anybody was trying to be unkind or tell me I wasn't going to be able to make it. They were legitimately worried. Like, what are you doing as a single mom leaving that?
And it's a competitive industry, it always has been. And, I think you need that mentality though of just go, like, shoot then aim, you know, just like
that's my motto.
You know, take action. I know, and you're
It's
way
my
better at that
motto.
than me. You've
I
helped me.
love
I'm way
that.
more analytical.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that's probably why you've been successful. What is the proudest achievement that you've had so far in business? Like, because I know there's probably a lot just in life, but or maybe it's both. But like, what are you the most proud of? You know, over these past 10 years or so since you've been in real estate.
Here's one big thing that happened. I'm not 100% sure if it's the thing I'm the most proud of, but it certainly was at the time. So I was 4 years in, maybe 3.5 years into real estate, and I was at Remax, and the CEO of Remax sent her son to Kelly Lanford and I were working together at the time, and sent her son as a buyer. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like, we get to work with him, and you know, she could choose from any agent in the entire world, and certainly any agent here, and we get to help. And that was because of Kelly, and that was wonderful. And so I helped him and met Margaret Kelly, who was the CEO at the time, and just so well known and well thought of. And I just remember thinking it was so fun. Well, they invite me to Elway's. Kelly and I went off on my own. I was no longer a buyer's agent and was doing well. That's very loud. Oh. And then they invited me to Elway's to have lunch one day, Margaret and John Kelly, and they said, hey, you know, we want you to represent us as the buyer's agent. We thought you did a really good job. We really liked how you handled everything. And I'm pretty new, and I'm like, what?
It's a huge opportunity. Yeah.
So they also had a house in Castle Pines. So this is where the kind of proud part. So I was already excited about that part. Found him a great place, very excited. It worked out wonderfully. So then we're at the closing table, and they're like, yeah, we're going to sell our house in Castle Pines in the spring, blah, 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 blah. And we're talking, and I was like, well, who's going to sell it? And they're like, well, we're going to use one of the Castle Pines Remax agents. Obviously, you're a Denver Central agent. And I was like, I said, okay, well, how about this? No pressure at all. But just because we like each other, how about I just interview for it? It just is like as a fun thing. And then you can critique it and tell me what I could have done better and differently, because I hadn't done any luxury real estate at the time. And Margaret was like, let's do it. You know, we'll call you after the holidays and you can come just do like a little presentation. It'll be really cute, basically, was what she was saying. So I'm sure you know where this is going, which is I am not stepping foot in that house without winning that listing. It is not happening. I don't care who they interview. No one is going to know more than I do about Castle Pines, about every house that has sold. So I was insane. First of all, I got the luxury real estate, you know, that 5-day course. I took that 5-day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Luxury certified real estate agent.
Gotcha.
5 days.
Certification.
Yeah. And then over the holidays. So this must have been, let's say, October, November-ish. And so I was going to their house the first week of January. So then, oh my gosh. So I literally mapped out every house that had sold in Castle Pines. I had it separated out. I had them all printed out where they could open up. I had like, how long did it sit on the market? How long did this list? I had an entire binder like this thick of every house, days on market.
This is amazing.
Blah, blah, blah. I was like, nobody is going to know more than I do about Castle Pines. And so I did all that. And then this is my favorite part. So then I was like, okay, they're going to ask me price per square foot, what I think it should sell for, blah, 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 blah. So I had like my casual conversation written on a piece of paper. Well, you know, these average price per square foot that look the most like yours is let's say $568 a square foot. And if I take that times your square footage, it's going to be approximately this. So the range is that. So I had all this memorized. So I just like whipped it out real quickly. I'm like, so here's what I'm thinking and la, la, la. And I laid it out and they were just like, okay. And so then at the end, so then in the luxury class, because I'm not going to say I was a renowned discounter, but I did a lot of discounting stuff because I was newer, did a lot of HUD homes, you know, all that kind of stuff. So in the luxury class, they were like, do not discount commission for luxury people, because they're going to say if you'll discount for them, then you're not going to be a good negotiator on their behalf. And so I was like, okay, so I go in prepared. I do the whatever superwoman pose or whatever else. So like literally everything I could possibly do to prepare for this. So I walk in, go through the presentation. I think they were sitting there looking at me like, what? And I'm laying it out and things are highlighted and sticky notes and all this kind of stuff. And then I do my blah, 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 and this price per square foot, and here's the range. And just a side note, the end of that story is obviously I got it. And the average days on market then was 3 years in Castle Pines. And we sold it and we were closed in 90 days. But
wow, that's awesome. That is a proud moment.
Ooh, I just got
I just kind of like pictured you when they opened the door, when you came in for the listing appointment, and like fog in the background, like a strobe light, like just
with
like
Rocky music.
Yeah,
dun, dun,
like
dun.
it's on. That's awesome. But you got to do that, you know, like you do have to do that to like to win the deal.
You do. And that's what I've been, that when I have mentored people, that is what I say. I'm like, don't let anyone be more prepared. Don't let anyone know more than you. No, I don't care how long they worked there. I guarantee you nobody was as prepared when they walked in. So then at the end, they're like, okay, well, we'll hire you. You know, what's, can we get a discount on commission? I'm like, well, we could either do 7 or we can do 6. And that's it. At 7, I'll pay for some full page luxury ads and we'll get a front page in this. Or for 6, we'll do all the above and beyond service. So I didn't give them a discount. In fact, I offered them an extra % higher. And they were like, okay. Now they knew that I was brand new to luxury shoes.
Right.
So they were sort of playing with me a tiny bit, but they're like, all right, it's yours. At the end, I'm like, oh my God.
Like, are you sure?
Are you sure?
Really? So of
Awesome.
course, like, you know, like any of those movies that you see, I was like, yeah, I thought you'd see it that way. And then I left going,
I love that.
So I'd say that was probably my proudest moment. And then that led me, that was really the beginning of my, I don't want to say upswing because I was already on the way up, but that really both increased my confidence and my recognizability, I guess.
Yeah.
So then people were taking me a little bit more seriously. I went to a big national thing where only people who made over 500,000 in commissions were invited to. It was, I think, the captains, whatever it is for Remax.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, you're the agent that sold Margaret Kelly's house. Oh my God. And I'm like, it was kind of embarrassing because I'm like, I don't have any secrets or tricks or anything. So don't ask me any questions because but
put you on the map. It puts you on the map.
It's kind of like that Will Smith thing where it's like where he talks about being on the treadmill. Right. Remember?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. It's about hard work, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think that is the secret. Though.
I will stay on this treadmill longer than everyone else. And like, I will die on this treadmill if I have to like, I think that's just working as hard as you possibly can to like be successful. I mean, that's a huge piece. Looking back on your career or, you know, thinking about lessons, like what's one thing that you would have maybe done differently, or like what's one really big lesson that you've learned from an experience?
Oddly, the same exact transaction was one where I also learned a big lesson. I sold a house in Castle Pines, knew everything about Castle Pines, etc. But what I didn't know or understand, because I hadn't sold any 2 million plus homes yet at the time, I didn't understand things like easements and there were some things that were a party to the transaction that I didn't know enough about. So looking back, maybe I should have brought in a partner to help with that. We ended up solving all of the issues. And I ended up giving away all my commission on the second half of their land because I cost them some money by not understanding an easement. And so I didn't know what I didn't know.
It's the worst. It's so hard. And I think the hardest part, you know, we talk about this a lot, but it's really experience. Like you can't like prepare for every single thing that's going to come up. I mean, in life, right? Like, or in a transaction. And so I think going through those experiences and like taking things away from that experience is really, really important, and just continuing to like add to your add to your
feather in the cap. Yeah.
Yeah. You have feather in the cap.
Feather in the cap.
Okay, Grandpa.
Yeah,
know,
seriously.
right?
What the hell's a feather in a cap?
You gave me shit for saying I'm gonna draw a bath, by the way, too, which is also another old man thing.
Lori.
Not that I like draw. It was for the kids. I don't go.
He's like, I'm going to go draw a bath.
I know.
Like,
are you an old English grandma? What?
I don't know. I'm very proper, I guess.
Me?
All right, hold on. It is 3:06. You got to pick Michael up at 3:10.
Oh yeah, I have a kid to pick up.
So we'll edit this little part out. But I want to have you on again though. Like I honestly feel like we could talk for like a couple hours, but this was great. Are you in a time rush because if not, you can go and I can ask you a couple more questions if like you're still okay on time, or if you want to just wrap it up now, we can just, we can wrap it up.
I have to wrap it up here in a couple minutes because someone needs an offer. The girls, my little Jazzy, whose computer I've stolen, needs to go pick her kids up too. Because I was going to do it on the cell phone, but we thought the computer might be better. So, but I mean, I can come back another time, certainly. Okay. I do feel like, I mean, this has been so fun, and I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface of all the philosophical. Remember, I know where we can continue this conversation.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, no, we'll reach out about that. I'll do a little exit. I'll do a little outro real quick here. I'm going to throw one more question at you, and then we'll end it after that.
Okay. I'm trying to get this light off of my chin.
I know it's catching up to you too. Yeah, it's catching up. All right. Last question, Lori. If you could write a book tomorrow, what would you write that book about?
Interesting that you would ask that because I'm actually working on topics to write a book tomorrow.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
So it's in the earlier phases, but it's going to be, you know, how we've got the French for dummies and the fixing faucets for dummies and all that kind of stuff. It's not that because that's already been done, but it's more along the lines of a 30-day reset, whether it's a 30-day reset for your career, which is what we've been talking about a lot, and how you get back to the basics and get the passion back again and that kind of stuff. But then also a 30-day reset for relationships, a 30-day reset with your friendships, whatever it is. So I'm trying to figure out a title that hasn't already been way overdone, but really about getting your passion back for anything and your enthusiasm back in 30 days and what types of things you need to do to go there. And as I was saying, the reason this is coming up is because I really had lost my sort of excitement about a lot of things and thought, okay, what do I need to do? When I had that passion and excitement, enthusiasm, what was I doing differently in my life? And even if you think about the beginning of a relationship, when you have all the passion and the excitement and the enthusiasm, and I don't know, you want to have sex every day, all of those things that you do, you never say no to anything. They want to go on a walk at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're like, sure, you know, whatever, I'll do that. You want to try this restaurant? Sure. Then 10 years go by and you're like, do you want to try this restaurant? And you're like, ugh, I'm so tired. I just got back from a long day at work and blah, 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 blah. So it's no wonder that you sort of lose that passion for that relationship because you stop doing the things that you did at the very beginning because you always think, well, I'll do that tomorrow or next week. I'll be a little bit better at this. And then the same thing happens with a career. I went along for the last 10 years doing it a certain way, got burnt out, wasn't feeling it. And then over the last 6 to 8 weeks have said, let's get that excitement back. What are the things that are costing me excitement? What are the things that are bringing me excitement? And what are the things that brought me excitement at the beginning? And let's do that. And what's a miracle? All of those things that I just talked about have brought back that, boy, I'm in the office. We're trying this. We're learning how to do TikTok. You know, we're doing all these things again. And I want to know everything about this. And yesterday I was learning about everything in the marketing center. When have I ever learned something about the marketing center in years? Like I'm sitting down, you know, trying new things. So
love that.
So I want a book on, like a series of books on going back to the basics and becoming that excited, curious, young, fun, hungry, beautiful, passionate version of yourself in any place in life that you are.
I absolutely love that. I can't
wait to read it.
Do it.
Yep.
All right. Well, Lori, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. We got to do this again. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like this video on the platform that you're watching it on. We love and appreciate everyone's support. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you guys so much. This was so fun.
See ya.
Bye.